Welcome back to the channel. My name's Tefty. Today we're looking at the MPC1 Auto Sampler feature. It's exactly as it sounds. It automatically samples things. And I have actually done some sampling videos in the past with the MPC1, but I haven't specifically done the Auto Sampler, and a few people have brought it up. And I was like, you know, I need to do a video on that and actually explore it and see what happens when working with it. A couple questions I had was like, well, can you do modular sampling since this has CV outs? Answer is yes, 100%. In fact, we're gonna do that first. So yeah, that's what this video is about. Literally just making some stuff or taking some instruments and auto sampling or creating a new sampled instrument automatically with the MPC platform. But what's really cool is that if you have the stuff hooked up and the MIDI stuff all configured on here, then it's just really simple to be like, I want to convert something into a sampled instrument through the auto sampler, and you can adjust all the settings of how many notes in between or even velocity levels and all that. But again, I haven't actually dug into it yet, so this is going to be a bit of a learning experience for myself as well making this video. I might run into some pitfalls that I didn't know about, and you guys will see the journey as I go through it. So let's get started. All right, headphones are on. We're going to make a brand new project first on the MPC. There we go, brand new empty project. So like I said, I wanted to first start out with a modular patch. I did make this patch beforehand, and it's a bass patch. Well, I mean, it can be a bass patch. It can be several things, but there's a whole bunch of modulation routings going on. Let me set it up first here. So if we go CV right there, this is 2.8, by the way, MPC software, or MPC firmware 2.8 from the MPC1. So I have one cable hooked up right here, and that is for CV port 1 and 5. I'm just getting pitch and gate out of the MPC1. If you haven't used the MPC1 with the modular yet, it is super smooth. Like, I'm basically set up. So I hit the CV, and then I just need to change my gate port to 5. Now I could do modulation wheel and velocity and all that stuff. I'm not even gonna mess with that. So it's already set up, it's working. Quick note on routing. I have both the inputs and the outputs of the MPC1 routed into a Mackie mixing board that's to my right. And I also have the main output, the left and right output, because I'm going into the Mimiophone here. Yeah, the Mimiophone is making it stereo. Once I apply the effects from the Mimiophone here from Make Noise, it'll create a stereo image. So I am capturing that into the Mackie board, and at any time I can route any of the inputs on the Mackie board into the inputs onto the MPC1, and that's with a bus 1 and 2. I've got the main bus, 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 on the Mackie board. So I can route that stuff into the input on here. So I can do the same thing with the Summit, the Pro 3, all that stuff. So quick explanation of what this patch is. I'm using the Pittsburgh Lifeforms primary oscillator. I'm grabbing the saw, pulse, fragments, and timbre out of this thing. I'm using the SV1 as a mixer and an ADSR. The ADSR is connected to a filter right here from AJH. It's like a Moog style filter. And then I'm also using the two ADSRs right here that are doing, so I'm taking the 1 and 2, which I think are the fragments and the timbre. They're getting their own ADSR, and then the saw and the pulse is getting its own ADSR as well. Then I'm putting those in the quad VCA, and I believe those are going into the QPAS and then into the Mimiophone for some additional stuff. Is the Mimiophone being added. I really like the sound of the Mimiophone. It's a nice module. So one thing I'm not sure is if I even want to have delay and reverb baked into the sample when I do the auto sampler. Back to the patch though. 2 maths and the Woggle Bug all providing various amounts of modulation throughout it. And this video isn't really specifically about modular gear. It's more about the auto sampler. As you can see, when you get into the modular stuff, it's like a deep hole that you can go down. Like, I'm not even using the Renee, I'm not using the simulator, I'm not even using the Mum 8, which is great. All those are awesome. But in fact, I'm not using the 2 oscillators for the SV1. I'm not using the VCA. I'm not using the filter on the SV1. Yeah, we want to try experimenting with this. I guess what we'll do is first, maybe we'll get it a little wet. Try it a little wet. And then, oh yeah, also I believe I have this channel 2 on this math set up for the resonance. Yeah, so I have I believe the Woggle Bug is adding some resonance into the QPOS over here, and I'm using channel 2 of this maths to control how much. So nothing, and then cranked up. So I can kind of like mess with that stuff if I want. Same thing with the filter over here. Because we got two options here. We could do short little block. Oh yeah, I also have two mixing options here, so I could do more of the crazy harmonic stuff I could throw in there, or I can make it more fundamental. So I got some options here. I'm gonna put a little bit of the harmonic stuff in there. Yeah, the other problem too with baking a delay into this is that if you use it with a project that's not exactly working with the timing, it can make it weird. Well, on the flip side, it can make it really cool though too, so you never know. Happy accidents can happen. So that's the patch in general, the idea behind it, or at least the first patch. Let's go into, let's start auto sampling, right? So in order to go into it, you have to click on the sampler button, or you go into the menu, go sampler. Initially, you will see your basic sampling type of stuff, and then you have this icon up here that's a keyboard with a plus sign. That is Autosampler. I don't think there's any other place where you can get to it. I couldn't find any other shortcuts. So if you're like looking for Autosampler, just trying to find it naturally, you might run into a little roadblock there and have to look it up. I had to look it up. So you click on that and now it's got Autosampler. So you have to make sure you're on the specific track with the thing that you want to sample, whether it's MIDI or CV, and then Autosampler will reference that, which is selected. So CV001 program, or track 1, CV001 program, that's what's selected. And it's going to choose the inputs too. Obviously, I only have input 1 and 2 on here. I can also resample all that too, which is really cool. So you can actually stack and destroy a bunch of programs and then sample them into Autosampler. So that's really cool too. But we're just gonna do a quick example here. I guess note range, C2 to C4, I guess that works. The note stride is 6 notes, or 6 half tones, I believe, or semitones. And you also have layer velocities. It looks like you can only have 4, so you could do like this. Now, I don't have velocity set up into this patch, but what I could do is set it up to where I could bring those relatively close together. And since there's randomness in this patch, I could technically sample 4 versions of it, kind of simulate a round robin when I start playing it. So that's a possibility right there. And then we have sampling options here. So we have note length and the tail, and then the name to start naming it. And then also looping as well. Looping's interesting. I don't think this would really work with looping. In fact, I think it would be better to just do long notes. One thing that I didn't explain in this patch also is that I have this ADSR set up to give a really slow closing of the AJH filter, the Minimoog filter. It basically creates movement in there. So what I could do is I could turn this down, crank this up a bit. So that's a long time, but you can hear how it like is slowly closing. I'm sorry. It looks like the camera is blowing out the text right here. I always have a tough time getting the camera set up correctly for the screen for some reason. So I apologize about that. So yeah, you have options for how you want it to crossfade and all that for your looping. I guess, maybe we should just try the default settings on here. Yeah, let's try it. So do it. So right away, the tail was not long enough because like the reverb and the delay that was happening on there is bleeding into the next note. So I would have to fix that. But let's go track 2, and then I think it's keys. Yeah, Autosampler. I'm gonna turn it up. Oh, now I have a polyphonic version of my modular, which is great, right? So you can hear these are the same sample because they have the same modulation. You can hear the loop that's going on right there. Before we go further, let's go in and edit this to give it some character. So click on Program Edit if you don't know. And then what it's going to do is have key groups that you're going to be able to adjust and edit. You're going to want to click on the keyboard right here. And you can select your key groups right here. See, it shows there's 5 key groups, so there's 5 samples. You're going to want to go all on here because it shows you what it's selected right here. All is going to adjust everything. The reason why you want to do that is you're going to adjust the filter, the modulation, all that stuff together at the same time. So for instance, if you go cutoff, say the cutoff is all on there at the same time. So right now, when you let up, it like immediately cuts off. I want to adjust that. Let's open the filter back up. So the release needs some tail. So let's do that. That's the full tail. Let's shorten it. It's a little bit better. Let's lengthen the decay. Bring the sustain down a bit. Also, let's grab the release. Go like so. Interesting. It's already got some character to it. The tone definitely changed. I'm not sure if that's the ADC, the analog to digital converter, in the MPC one, or if it's just the fact that it's not analog anymore. But I can definitely hear a difference. In fact, let's go back. Let's go to this. This is louder, unfortunately, so you're not going to get a clear indication. And there's also randomness happening on each note. But there's definitely a depth to it that I don't think is in the sample. Let's add an effect on here to crank up the volume here. Okay, so I turned the threshold completely off. I'm just gonna turn up the volume. It's pretty close. This one's still a little softer. So you can hear the release much shorter on the original. So let's change that. So let's go back into Program Edit. And we still have all on the key group right there, which is very important. Make sure it's on all. Let's reduce this to release. It's about like that. I'm going to redo this, by the way, but I just want to show what messing around with 5 samples does right away, because I think that's interesting in and of itself. Let's go to modulation. I like also having the pan have some modulation. Create some stereo width. So, one thing that you might think if you're new to the MPC platform is, oh, I'll go to effects and start adding some effects right there. Don't do that. If you do it that way, then it's going to add whatever effect you add to every single key group. So if you add a reverb, it's going to suddenly add 5 reverbs to the instrument, and you'll have to, I think you'll have to adjust each one individually, I think. Yeah, so don't do that. You think it says effects right there. You do want to go ahead and do it that way. That's not what you want to do. If you want to add the effects, you have to go to the main instrument right here, where I put this compressor, and now you start adding some things. So let's do a delay first. Let's go, I guess, analog sync delay. How's this looking? Okay, cool. So let's turn the dry wet down. Put up the feedback. Ramp. That's good enough for now. Now let's go reverb. I guess we'll go air verb. This one might work for you, might not, I'm not sure. Let's turn down the mix. Time, let's say, we'll go 2.5 seconds. We'll make the room 100%. That's already sounding pretty cool, honestly. One thing that I would probably do, so we got a filter envelope as well on here. that we can start messing with. Let's bring the decay over. Let's drop the sustain down. Maybe even give it a little bit of attack as well. Also, I usually like giving the attack on the envelope, the amplitude envelope a little bit as well. All right, so if we got that, what we should do, let's drop the cutoff, and also let's change the filter too. Let's go 4 on here. Okay, now on the keyboard, modulation source. So the higher we play on the keyboard, the more that filter is going to engage on there. The next thing, we'll do some velocity as well. So let's crank this up. Sounds like I have some internal clipping going on right now. Let's turn this back down. So quick note on my balancing and routing. I didn't prepare the setup on here. I'm kind of running this pretty hot right now, which is a little unfortunate, but I'm already this far in the video, so instead of redoing everything, I just want you guys to know that I'm running the output a little bit too hot on this, and I'm getting a little bit of clipping. I had to turn down the audio there. Actually, we'll put this back up, and I'll try not to play too many notes all at once. Okay, so that was just, I think, 6 samples with Autosampler already. You hear the actual samples change right there. It's already got some character. Let's go a step further now, and maybe let's do whole tones, because I think like Spitfire Audio, I think they usually do like whole tones for stuff, not semitones, but whole tones. Now, here's the thing. If I were to go back to sampler like this and hit the key sign again, it's now going to want to resample the sample instrument that I just made. Obviously, that's not what I want right now. I mean, you might want to do that to make some other cool, interesting stuff happen. But I'm going to go back to track 1. Which is louder. Let's turn this down on the mixing board. Cool. So I'm going to get the same thing, but I'm going to do some adjustments here, okay? So we're going to go sampler. Let's hit the key on here. So yeah, it's getting this stuff. I want it to, I guess, get G1 up to G4. Yeah, and the stride, I think we want 2-note strides. Yes, extend min max. Now we could even go a step further with some velocity stuff. I think we're going to do that too, so this is going to be pretty extensive. Note length, we're going to go 5 seconds. And we're going to extend that tail to 2 seconds. Let's actually name this modular bass thing. Alright, so we got a Tefty modular bass, and I think I'm going to skip on the looping. It says it's going to take 252 seconds. So I'm going to hit do it. And I'm gonna cut. While I'm recording, I'm actually gonna mess with some settings here. Create a little more variation while it's recording. We are done. Great. So I'm very curious to see how this is gonna sound. Let's go to track 3. And Tefty modular bass. So same type of thing. We gotta increase the volume on this because the samples are recorded lower. I think this was about this. Way more character per note now when I'm playing. And each one of these, playing a triad, it's definitely 3 different samples. Cool, let's edit this, make some adjustments here. So again, you want to go the key group on here. You want to make sure it's all. Look how many key groups there are. 19 total key groups. We want the release, I think was about, what, 70 or something like that? Let's try this. That's kind of weird. Playing it like legato can kind of create a little issues here and there. But key stabs is sounding awesome. I'm really liking that a lot. Let's make the attack a little bit. Let's do some decay on the amplitude. Also drop the sustain a bit. So it has some dynamics to it. Do the same thing with the cutoff. Maybe give it a little resonance this time. And have the keyboard tracking kick in. And velocity will affect the filter as well. I think I'm going to get rid of the resonance. I'll do a little bit of the envelope right here. Let's give it a long release, sustain, long decay. Go to the LFO. Let's put the pan in there. That's too much. Actually, let's lower the rate on this. So slow sine wave, drop the pan. I think the cutoff needs to be lower. Okay, back to effects, we want a delay. We'll go analog sync again. And now let's throw a reverb on there. Same one, just to keep things relatively consistent. Go, what was it, 2.5, something like that. Max out the room size. So am I messing with the stuff, creating the resonance little peaks? Not sure if I actually like that after the thought, after doing it. They kind of stick out a bit. It's interesting though, it gives a good example of what's possible with this stuff, and I think it's cool messing with the samples live as it's recording. It doesn't make a consistent instrument. Creating like interesting mistakes, I think, is what's cool about some of the software. You know, I named this bass, but honestly, it's actually working out really well as like a synth pad. Like a stab. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I believe there's programs out there that can actually transfer formats back and forth. So I think there's programs that can take the MPC format and put it into Native Instruments Contact format and vice versa, or like EXS or something like that. Or I guess it's not EXS anymore, right? They changed that. So that's really cool too. That's another thing that can open it up if you want to like do some extensive instrument sampling with the MPC platform and then be able to transfer it to different libraries. Maybe even make libraries that you sell or something like that. That's always a possibility too. Either way, I think it's cool to be able to make instruments like this and mess around. In fact, one instrument that I absolutely love is, or module I should say, that I love is the Rings module. It is badass sound. In fact, maybe we should sample that. I'd have to pull everything apart, which I think we're gonna do. We're gonna pull it apart, okay? I'm gonna keep the Mimeophone connections. That's what's going into my board. By the way, I'm running that into a DI. For anybody wondering, I'm taking these outputs and I'm running them into a DI that's lifting the ground. So if I do have any ground noise or anything like that, it's technically lifting that out of the signal, so I'm not dealing with any additional noise from that, and then that's going into the board. So if you happen to try the same thing, if you go directly into a board and get a bunch of noise in your signal, you might need to lift the ground. So I suggest getting some passive DIs that have that option where you can flip a switch to lift the ground. Let's make a rings patch with this. I forgot what I had on here. I think tip is the pitch. Yeah, tip is pitch. In fact, I was splitting these out right here just in case I wanted to send them to different locations. Mult them. So we got pitch. And we're going to send that to volt per octave on rings. And then we're going to send the gate to the strum right here. Great. Now we have to take out the odd and even. So one thing with rings is you can use it without any VCA or anything like that, which is nice if you want to just get some sound out of it right away. Like that. And the Q pass is currently rocking the low pass. Let's turn all these down. Let's turn the mimeophone off. Whoops. There we go. Rings. Such a majestic sound. Dampening. Okay, so we definitely need to put an ADSR in here. In fact, maybe we should use the LXD for this. We are going to use both of these. Now let's get some stereo image going here. God, I love rings. So good. If you guys have not checked out videos on rings, I highly recommend go checking it out. It's such a cool modular instrument. It's a resonance modeler, if you don't know. Like which is pretty straightforward. But the way it's set up is you can set up the position of where you're plucking the string. You can set up the dampening. More pluck, you know? Or like palm mute. The brightness, which can get really out there. The shape, which I'm not entirely sure what shape does. Because it sounds like it affects the overtones, and again, shape, I'm not sure how that translates into the modeling, the resonance modeler, like the shape of the string, like, or the shape of the instrument that it's modeling, maybe something like that. I know it obviously changes the sound, as you can hear. And what's super dope about this is you can modulate all that stuff. So you have ports and everything to be able to have all that stuff move in modular, which is obviously one of the key points right there. The other thing too with rings is you have multiple modes. So this is a 4-string mode. It only plays one note at a time, like this. But what you have is 4 potential voices that can resonate at any given time. You also have different modes of the strings. So you can go mono, you can also go duo, and the quad, which was what I was in. If we go mono, super cool, right? Then duo. Let's go back to mono, actually. Now, let's also adjust the mode here. So green is, I guess, more wood. I guess shape makes more sense with this. Let's go to the next mode. This one sounds really cool too. Definitely cool. So now that we have this setup right here, man, I can play with this stuff all day long. Let's throw some mimeophone in there. We need to throw some modulation to this, so. We need some more modulation though. I think let's mess with the shape. This could be awful. We're gonna find out if it's awful. That is cool! Alright, let's turn it down. Okay, that's a little unusable. That's good, keep it cranked up. That is just a crazy sounding instrument right there. Maybe I should capture that since I'm suddenly digging that, but I kind of want to make some other stuff out of it. All right, so sampler, back to the key thing. What do we call modular strings? Tef rings wacky. I think we'll go 4 seconds. And I'll do 3.5. Shorten the tail as well to like 1300. We don't need multiple layers either. Just one layer is fine for this. We don't need to go down to G1. We'll keep it relatively short. Do it, please. Okay, we no doubt made some super weird instrument. We're about to find out what it sounds like. Okay, we need to do the same thing. Let's throw a compressor on there. Fix our volume here. So one weird thing that was happening was the previous note was still ringing after the sample cut and the envelope cut it as well. So we were getting this like ghost note that was coming through on some of the samples. Not exactly ideal. I would probably redo that, but for the sake of interest and weirdness, I think it might work. Who knows? Let's just throw the reverb on this. Big room. Yeah, this note has 2 notes in there. Not exactly useful in that. Program edit. Let's give it some release. Also some attack, just a little bit. Let's take down. What a weird instrument. This is semi-usable. I think it'd be very specific. It would stick out if you're not careful. It does have a particular character though, and the note bleeds add like a certain harmonic feel, which is cool. Let's go back to the original rings. Still, I will say, every time when I go back to the actual modular, the clarity in there is definitely, like, it's crisp. It's crisp clarity going on, where the sampled version, it sounds sampled still. And again, I don't know if that's the analog digital converters, or it's just the fact that analog is just analog. That's to my ears right here. I am hearing the analog version of it. On the YouTube video, that might not be the case at all. It might be like, there's no difference whatsoever, dude. But for me, I'm plugged in via analog and I'm hearing it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds, I can hear a difference. What I would do is probably like sample this into Ableton and then chop up some loops. But that's not what this video is about. Let's get a more cleaner version of this. So let's take off that modulation for position. In fact, let's just yank that. In fact, we'll keep that out for now. Yeah, and let's go back to a single voice. Yeah, I kind of want to get this one super clean. Sampler. Let's name this Teft Rings Clean. Note length, yes, that's fine. Stride is 2, C2 to C4. Cool, let's do it. There we go, done, perfect. Let's go make a new track. Track 5, Teft Rings Clean. Let's throw a quick compressor on there to rebalance it since it's quiet. Okay. Probably gonna want some reverb on there too, so let's do that real quick. Let's go program edit. All the key groups, great. I want some more release out of there. Well, I think that gives you an idea of what's possible with Autosampler. I didn't run into too many snags. Also, I just stuck with modular sampling, and like it's just as easy with MIDI sampling. In fact, if we go over to track 1, actually we can make a new track. Let's go track 6 right here. Just go MIDI. Let's choose the Pro 3. So as a quick example, let's just sample this. Let's go 6-note stride. So again, I have this going into my Mackie mixer right here, and I have the option to say, also send this to bus 1 and 2, which is being routed into my inputs right here. So that's why it's super easy for me to just flip a few switches and I'm good to go. I have a polyphonic Pro 3 now. Great! Doesn't sound exactly. Like, obviously the sample is quieter, so I fully understand that. But you can hear the fundamental differences. Like, I love sampling and I love the potential, the technology, what it offers, but there's definitely no replacement for the real instrument. Like, that's obvious. That being said, though, if you have a modular or you have a monophonic synth or a paraphonic and you want to be able to have the option to be able to use some of those sounds in a polyphonic sense or be able to just have it on the go for your MPC, like if you bring this, you capture everything that's in your studio that you want to be able to use, you take it, on the road for 6 months or something like that. 6 months is a long time, but let's just say you go on the road. You can actually have access to your sounds and then bring it back to the studio, work with the real stuff, if you want, or, make something completely different, or, yeah. Autosampler is really cool. I'd highly recommend checking it out if you haven't yet. This is a weird sounding patch. I actually really like it. It's cool. Oh. Here we go. Here's the pitfall that I didn't think about before I started. I didn't tune the oscillator in the beginning, so this pitch, I think it's sharp. So, you live and learn. Yeah. It's out of tune. We call that character, though, being out of tune right there. So there it is. I found a pitfall. I forgot to check the tuning on there. I went through and sampled it a couple times, and now it's out of key. You live and learn, guys. You live and learn. So that is the video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate the support. Both Muse and I appreciate the support on the channel that's been happening. Look forward to making new content for you guys. We got more music coming. I got more tech videos coming too that I've got ideas for. If you've been doing some auto sample stuff, let me know in the comments. Also, if you know a program that does a really good translation between Akai MPC programs to, like, say, native instruments, I would love to know if you guys have anything out there. Like I said, I think I found one, Chicken Systems, a translator or something like that. I don't know if there's any others, because maybe the market for something like that is really small. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button. It lets other people know that you found it useful and the content was relevant to what you were searching. Always appreciate comments as well. And if you hit the sub button, if you haven't already, that is amazing. And ring the bell if you want notifications of when we drop videos on the instant of when it happens. And that is gonna do it for the video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Deuces.